I'd like to call this meeting of the Middletown Township Supervisors to order. Please silence your cell phones, and we're going to have Troop 19, Boy Scout troops, present the colors, and then we'll rise and do the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance. So,
Would everyone please rise as the colors?
now we'll have Dakota Yates sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please remain standing as Boy Scout Troop 19 will now do the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to thank Dakota and the Boy Scouts. Thank you very much. Ms. Strauss, roll call.
Mr. Kizak?
Here.
Mr. Tosti?
Here.
Mr. Ottinger? We also have with us Isaac Kessler, our township engineer, Jim Esposito, our township solicitor, Ms. Dealy Cools, our township manager, and missing tonight is Supervisor George Leonhauser.
I would like to say that Mr. Leonhauser called me. He had a little procedure last week, and he's doing fine. He's just mending, and just wanted everybody to know that he wanted to be here but just couldn't make it. First thing is the announcements, correspondence, and awards report. So the next Board of Supervisors meeting will be Monday, July 15th, 2019 at 7 p.m. right here in the hall. I will now call up Diane Loomis to do the presentation of the Middletown Community Foundation Scholarships Award. There, right. Do we have a microphone for her?
Thank you. Thank you, Middletown Township Supervisors, for allowing us the opportunity to present the 2019 Middletown Community Foundation Community Service Scholarships tonight. For those who are not familiar with our organization, we've been in existence since July of 2000 with a mission to improve the quality of life in the community we are proud to call home. One of the ways in which we improve the quality of life is to honor the outstanding high school seniors in Middletown through recognizing them with this scholarship program. And since 2002, we have awarded 170 scholarships totaling $175,000. We recognize students who perform community service throughout their high school careers, and they may be awarded these scholarships on the basis, rather to use toward higher education, whether that would be college, technical, or vocational school. We are fortunate to have two Middletown public servants who endowed scholarships to remember loved ones. Richard L. Toste Scholarship is in memory of Supervisor Chairman Tom Toste's father, and the Becky Marseglia Scholarship honors the memory of County Commissioner Diane Marseglia's daughter. We thank Diane and Tom for their generosity, and we are honored to help those in which we are memorializing. This year, we have 3 winners, each one receiving an award of $1,500. And when I call your name, if you're here and present, please come forward to accept your award. Sydney Swope. Sydney is a senior at Neshaminy High School and will be attending the University of the Sciences to study physical therapy. Thank you very much. We'll call her back. Okay. Oh, good, I'd love to. Sorry, guys, pardon that. Yes, there we go. Elizabeth Eisel, is she present? And if not, I want to let you know that she is a senior at Archbishop Wood High School. She'll be attending Penn State Berks campus, studying communication sciences and disorders, and Elizabeth is the recipient of the Richard L. Toste Scholarship. So normally we would have Tom present that, but that'll be on hold tonight. Okay. The last is Adriana Fisher. Is she present? Ah, wonderful. And Adriana is a senior at Neshaminy High School, will be attending Temple University to study speech, language, and hearing services. Adriana is the recipient of the Becky Marseglia Scholarship, so we ask Commissioner Marseglia to present the award to Adriana. Oh, thank you. Our wish to all 3 is a successful college career and successful life career as well. We hope that you'll continue in community service and that you would serve well the community you choose to call home in the future. Thank you again to the supervisors to allow us to present these scholarships this evening, and we might do a little photo op out there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Loomis.
That's good.
Thank you to the Middletown Community Foundation. Next on the agenda is public comments for non-agenda items only. Oh, sorry about that. I apologize. The police department recognition. Sorry, Chief.
Good evening, Mr. Toste, fellow board members. So tonight, very briefly, we're going to recognize 2 of our command staff members who recently graduated from some very well-known and well-renowned command schools. So I'll ask Lieutenant Ken Mellis to come up and Captain Pete Feeney. So Lieutenant Mellis attended the West Point Leadership Institute, which is a 14-week, very academically intensive program. It's 1 day a week for 14 weeks, and it wasn't really well known to us. There's a lot of commanders in Montgomery County who attended. Lieutenant Mellis asked if he could go, and he went. He had, I think, a really good time there. He did a lot of networking, and I know it was very valuable to him. I know it was very academically demanding, so I asked Ken, did he get 100? He said he got close. I don't know what that means. It could be 70, right, Ken? But I know he got a very good score. He was one of the top scorers in his class, and so that's a tremendous accomplishment for Lieutenant Mellis. And I do have a gift for you, but it's in my car, so I'll get it for you when we go out. So we have Captain Pete Feeney, who went through the FBI National Academy. For those of you who don't know, the FBI National Academy is kind of the gold standard for police commanders. It's probably the best police command school in the country, if not in the world. I know there was about 250 in Pete's class, and they come from all over the world. They come from countries like Saudi Arabia, Eastern Europe, all over the place. And, Pete was very fortunate to be able to go there. They tell you at the graduation for the NA that less than 1% of all law enforcement in the country graduate from the NA. So that is a really good accomplishment for Pete as well. And that was 10 weeks living at the FBI Academy in Quantico. It's a very valuable experience. So one thing I do want to also say real fast, we do a lot of training in our department. I know I appreciate it, and I know the officers do. I know Ken and Pete do. It does take time, but to me, I look at training as an investment, not an expense. But both these guys went to command schools that cost a grand total of $1,200. Ken's school was $1,200. Pete, it was free. The NA is free. So the investment was really their time, that we missed them while they were here. But I do want to say, regardless of what the schools cost, we really try to look for quality training. And I believe the township does get a great return on that investment. So I do want to thank the Board of Supervisors for allowing our command staff and all of our officers to attend training, and for allowing us to invest the funds and the time into the training. I know you get it paid back to you. They say for every dollar you invest in quality police training, you get $10 in return. So I want to thank the board for that, and I do want to congratulate Lieutenant Mellis and Captain Feeney for their tremendous accomplishments. That's it.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay.
Thank you for moving our township's police department forward. And Captain and Lieutenant, thank you for all you do for our community. Keep up the good work. The last announcement I have is we want to invite the entire community to come out and enjoy Middletown's 8th annual 4th of July parade. The parade ceremony begins at 9 a.m. The parade route starts at Veterans Memorial Park and ends at Twin Oaks Park. Find a spot anywhere along the 1.6-mile route on Thursday morning to celebrate our national holiday with our neighbors. And if you have any questions, please call the Park and Rec Department and contact Mr. Paul Capera. With that, I will now move to public comment on non-agenda items only. Just state your name and your address, please.
Sure. My name is Rob Shear. I'm actually going to live in Middletown, but I work at 2221 Cabot Boulevard in Middletown. My company, it's actually a family business. It's been around since 2001. We've been leasing space on Cabot Boulevard since 2003. It's been essentially non-eventful. We've been very happy there until somewhat recently. I believe about 2 years ago, Amazon opened a flex warehouse just down the access road from us. The Amazon Flex Warehouse is essentially where Amazon independent contractors come in and they fill their trucks up with parcels for delivery at customer addresses. The biggest problem that we're having with that is that they share an access road with us and 2 other businesses that can only access our buildings from that same access road. It's 2 lanes about 24 feet wide, and on one side they essentially line up in a long queue to get into the warehouse, and on the other side there are vans leaving the warehouse and going back out to Cabot Boulevard. So this ranges from an inconvenience if there's maybe a 5 or 10 minute delay to get into our parking lot, but other times around Christmas, and I would actually anticipate later this week with Father's Day coming up, there could be some significant delays. On top of that, it creates an issue when we have drivers that try to get behind our building. They actually will go down the 12-foot space remaining, and they've gotten stuck making that turn to get behind our building, which actually just makes it complete chaos on that access road. We think it's a fairly significant safety hazard. We've actually heard in the past of the fire department being called to access the Amazon warehouse because someone was hit by a car inside the building, but they were unable to reach it because there was a delay getting into the building. There's significant littering. Drivers who are in the vans are constantly on their GPSs trying to find their first location, so they fly out of the warehouse with cars coming in both directions, just essentially not looking at the road. It's just been fairly hectic for the past 2 years. Our landlord apparently worked with the township to obtain permits to build a second access road specifically for Amazon, I believe, onto Oxford Valley Road. But the cost was apparently prohibitive for Amazon to do so, and they've done nothing yet. And they don't have employees trying to manage the traffic in and out of the building. Essentially, at this point, we're reaching out to the township. We're hoping for something resembling a permanent solution. We've worked with the police department, who have been very helpful when we call, but unfortunately, I believe they only have so many limited tools for enforcement because the vans are not parked there. Their the drivers are in, so when they're told to move, they actually move. So there's really not much that the police can do at this point. What we're asking for is for the fire marshal to declare that access road a fire lane, which would prevent any stopping, I believe, or if that would not suffice, to put in place an experimental regulation preventing stopping on that access road. I believe that would only be in place for a month, but could be made permanent. And with police enforcing that, I would hope that that would alleviate any stopping on that road, which would make it safer for my employees to work there.
Well, we have a citizens traffic commissions that we can assign this to have them look at that. Well, one, I'm kind of curious, when you said Amazon, it was cost prohibitive for them to build an access road when it's a billion-dollar company that, I mean, they got more money than you can ever imagine. But that was their reasoning, was it was just cost prohibitive?
I heard that initially they heard it was 2 million when it was actually 200,000, so it was off by a factor of 10. Regardless, I think, like you said, Amazon could afford it, but I think they just choose not to because it's really an interruption for us rather than for Amazon.
Okay, I'm gonna let Ms. Teoli.
I just wanted to let the board, the public, and the gentleman know that we have been made aware of this concern. As you mentioned, our police department, our fire marshal, we have talked to Mr. Flynn. We know what he is up against. It's complicated, right? It's a private area. There is public access, and Amazon is a significant tenant. And they did come to us to ask about this idea, and that's the last we heard. I didn't hear whether they were doing it or not doing it. I'm certainly happy to reinitiate conversations with Kevin Flynn to see if there's something we might be able to do, and also take your recommendations and see if any of them are viable and bring it back to the board.
Are they blocking Cabot Boulevard, or is it off of Cabot Boulevard?
Every so often, they'll line up on Cabot to block it. I've heard it go as far as Oxford Valley Road. That's rare. You might see it around Christmas time. But when I think last Christmas, they got the message from the township because I believe there were many discussions between Mr. Flynn, with you, and with Amazon. They had employees having the transit vans go down Cabot Boulevard and line up. So I just think every so often they just either forget or they don't care, or it's just not a priority when it's not around Black Friday. So the vans just line up. So it's not frequent, and it's hard to pinpoint when it's going to happen next. It's just every so often we can't get into our building.
It is my understanding that the folks at Amazon were receptive to the conversation, so I'll report back to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? State your name and your address.
My name's Suzanne Van Camp. I thank you for allowing me to come back again. It's again about the Vietnam Veterans Monument that's going to be installed in the Middletown Township Veterans Memorial Park. And I want to thank Paul and one of the commanders from the Ben Salem military post for meeting with Dennis, who is helps me in the park as volunteer. And we were allowed to express our opinions about the location of where it's initially supposed to be located, which is right on 413. And we had suggested between the tank and the pavilion behind the flags as a more quiet place and a little packing up to the woods. The other thing is Paul Preston, the chair, has a lot of brochures to hand out to people and a phone number to call. There's also a people can volunteer to pay for this Vietnam Memorial. But I would like to suggest what I had suggested years ago, maybe 6 years ago, up at the Washington Crossing Park, when they were running short of money for the Wreaths Across America, that they were running short of funds, that they go to the local businesses for money. And the following year, they did have a person that went around, and they managed to raise a lot of money for that project. And I would like to suggest that as well for the Vietnam Memorial, to go to the local businesses and knock on doors. And I myself wouldn't mind doing that, because I would feel proud if you would allow me to do it. That's about it. The other thing is, the Harry Simmons Park over in Langhorne has a monument over there that my friend Dennis seems to want all 6 divisions of the military mentioned along with the Vietnam Memorial, because it is an all-veterans park. They have an absolutely wonderful memorial over there. I'd like you people, if you haven't seen it, and it's about 45 inches high, and Harry's 30 inches wide. And Harry Simmons' plaque is on the top. If you would go see it, I would like, again, to consider that, to go along with the Vietnam Memorial, to mention all the veterans. Thank you.
Thank you for your suggestions. We'll pass that along. Any other public comment? We'll move on to the consent agenda items. Consideration of authorizing payment of the June 10th, 2019 bill list in the amount of $1,334,985.70. Consideration of approving the May 20th, 2019 minutes of the public meeting of the Middletown Board of Supervisors. Letter C, consideration of authorizing the Stonehaven Langhorne Construction Escrow Fund release in the amount of $51,620.45. Letter D is consideration of approving change order number 2, 2018 handicap grant program reflecting adjustments to the scope of the work being performed by LC Costa Contractors Incorporated. Letter E is consideration of authorizing payment certificate number 2 to LC Costa Contractors Incorporated in the amount of $3,289.71 for the 2018 handicap grant program. And letter F is consideration of enacting resolution number 19-11R, enacting the highway or the roadway lighting agreement for the Brownsville Road over Neshaminy Creek replacement project. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda items.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any board questions? Any public questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No? Ayes got it, 4-0. Moving on, number 5, consideration of approving the Middletown Township Police Pension and Non-Uniform Pension Investment Fund Policy Statement. Ms. Tealby.
The Middletown Township Police Pension Committee, which is made up of folks representing the police pension and the non-uniforms pension, have been talking for actually a couple of years about updating our investment policy statement. The last time it was officially updated was 2003. And so what you have in front of you this evening is being recommended by the Pension Committee to update our IPS, Investment Policy Statement. There are a number of changes. Some of the highlights are outlined in your memo. It really clearly outlines what the benchmarks are. The target asset mix has been adjusted really to provide more flexibility in being protective and allowing the mandatory equity minimum to go down lower. It's updated and reflects, more modern language. It has a glossary, more clearly identified objectives. And so we would just request that the board consider approving this, and that would go back to the pension committee and be identified for the future for our pension investments.
I move to approve the Middletown Township Police Pension and Non-Uniform Pension Investment Policy Statement.
Second.
Any board questions? Any public
I just wanted to note here, it says the pension committee is in support of
I didn't
these
hear you.
changes. Yeah, that's all.
Any public questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay? Ayes have it, 4-0. Number 6 on the agenda, consideration of awarding the skate park bid to the Fifth Pocket Skate Parks, Langhorne, PA, at a cost of $325,000.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Asking the board tonight to consider the awarding a contract to Fifth Pocket Design of Langhorne, PA, 8,600 square foot concrete skate park in Community Park, as you stated, for the amount of $325,000. Now, we've been through this for 4 years, so I just wanted to refresh everybody's memory. This is the 8,600 square foot design. It's going to go in the same footprint as the old skate park. When Fifth Pocket Skate Parks designed this skate park, he did his initial design, and then he had 2 public meetings, and he came up with some really great input. It created this cantilever feature, so as you're going into the woods, it's basically like you're going into the wood trees, and then you just flip right back down. So there's a lot of unique features here that are going to make this an exciting skate park. This is back in '02 when the skate park was opened, and the goal here is with the new skate park, we'll bring all of these youth back to the skate park so that they can skate, get their exercise, have their pro-social environment to hang out with and feel safe. This is the existing skate park site as we see it now. I do want to, the broken up macadam, or the asphalt that's still there, one of the good things about Fifth Pocket Skate Park is he plans to utilize, instead of putting that in the landfill, he's going to break that up and use that to build his higher levels. So instead of just dumping this and bringing in fill, he's going to reuse some of this asphalt. Okay? I'm just going to leave that up there while I finish the rest of my presentation. If awarded tonight, Fifth Pocket Skate Park is not here tonight because they are currently in Wisconsin to build they're building a skate park in Wisconsin. They'll be back in town mid-July, and our camp ends August 9th. So they could basically break ground on Monday, August 12th, and with a 9-week window be done well before Halloween. So that's what we're looking at, and the weather would be favorable for all kinds of concrete work, assuming that we have a normal weather. We did get 3 bids. Fifth Pocket was the lowest at $325,000, and rather than talk gross numbers, we like to talk per square foot. So Fifth Pocket was $38 a square foot. Grindline Skate Park out of Seattle, Washington was $52 a square foot, and Evergreen Skate Parks was $61 a square foot. So we were excited to get 3 bids. Of the 79 firms that downloaded the documents, we were happy that 9 real skate park firms had actually downloaded the documents, checked it out. So our work was out there. It did get a good look, and we were happy to get these 3 bids from well-known skate park builders. The capital budget does include this $250,000 for the upgrades to the community park as part of the DCNR skate park, and the Fifth Pockets does meet all the bid requirements as stated in the bid documents. Are there any questions?
Will there be a fence around it again, like the last one? A fence around the skate park?
No fence.
No fence.
A fence is bad to skaters,
Okay.
okay?
And how about lighting? Will there be lighting?
So lighting is still there. In fact, what we did is when we redid all of the field lights, we just replaced all the 8 lamps and put in the new shield. So it's actually very functional and very operational with the lights right now.
Great, awesome.
I move to award a contract to Fifth Pocket Skate Parks to build a new 8,600 square foot concrete skate park in the amount of $325,000.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any board questions?
I just want to thank you, Mr. Copera, for all your work on this. We have some scouts in the audience tonight, and while community meetings are not often exciting, I saw their faces light up when this came up on the screen, and it reminds me of what we've gone through over the years of this process, right? We sometimes have trouble getting the public involved in what we're trying to do with municipal government, but this project has never had that problem. As you've been leading these community engagement meetings, they've been packed, whether you had them at the site or had them here. The community wants this. The community has been supportive and engaged every step of the way. And when I saw the bids come back in, I felt like we are so lucky to have a nationally known skate park builder here in our community. And so to be able to award this to Fifth Pocket is just really exciting.
It is.
Any other board comments? Any public comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay, ayes have it, 4-0. I'd also like to add, Ms. Strauss, thank you for everything you've done to stay on top of this. It really is something very good for our community, so thank you.
Thank you, and I would be remiss, thank you for reminding me, Tom, if we didn't thank also the sponsors who have gotten us here. We have several local businesses and individuals who donated to help with our matching funds for the skate park. So we've raised over $72,000 between our local business community and the work of the skate park committee themselves, doing literal bake sales to make this happen. So thank you. We'll be recognizing those sponsors when we get to the groundbreaking.
Very good.
All right, next on the agenda is consideration of authorizing advertisement of a bid to remove 500 feet of fencing and invasive species and removal of dead trees at Spring Valley Farm with the Bucks County Open Space Grant. Mr. Capara?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Spring Valley Farm, just for everybody's benefit, is a 10.5-acre site, which is basically where Middletown, Humeville Borough, and Pendle Borough meet. It is an adjoining property to the Pendle Wildcat sports facility off of Bellevue. We did do a master plan, so there was a master plan committee, and this was done by Stromberg, Garrigan, and Associates, along with Antool Recreation Planning. So that's the 10.7-acre site, and what I'm going to draw your attention to with tonight's request to put this out to bid is there is a wire mesh fence that basically runs from mid-court of the basketball, and it's just buried under a lot of invasive species, poison ivy, a lot of dead trees. And step one is to remove all of that yuck. Now, as Mr. Tosti had mentioned, this is part of a Bucks County Municipal Open Space Grant. So we had originally applied, and the board had approved this back in December of 2016. Debbie Lamont and I met with the Bucks County Planning Commission in March of 2017, and it just kind of didn't hear anything. And then right before Halloween 2018, got a call from Bucks County and said this money was granted. So it was kind of, okay, great. So it is a 75-25 match, which means that for every dollar that we put in, the county puts in 3. So it's a great proposition for us. If your employer gives that to you for your 401k, you go to the match. You go to the max, okay? So it is a $190,000 total project. This is not going to be all of that, but it's going to be the first initial step. So this is about the only 20 feet of fencing that I could actually see that wasn't buried. As you can see, this is the fencing that's enclosed and just embedded. It wraps around the foul pole / telephone pole / light pole. If you can see, right here are the power lines. So it's going to be an ugly, messy job. Part of this job is also taking down, there's about 15 or 20 sizable trees, all dead in this shape or form, a lot of ash trees in this area that all have to come down. And they're on our property, and it's really for the safety of the players on the Pendle Wildcat side, as well as anybody that's on our park property. There's also trees that are growing through the wire fence. Now, this is also part of the job. This is a 300-year-old sycamore tree. It's in great shape. It just needs a little bit of love. So I don't want to be the Park and Rec director that kills George Washington's tree. So we're going to take a couple extra steps to take care of this and give this another 300 years of life. Okay. And I believe that is it. So what I'm asking the board to do is for permission to put this out to bid, to let landscapers, any laborers, to bid on it and take it to do the work in September. I have been in contact with both the Pendle Borough Board and the Pendel Wildcats. The people that were on the Spring Valley Farm Planning Commission, just to refresh their memory, because that was 2016 when we last met. So I just wanted to, remind them that this was part of the master plan. And does anybody have any questions?
The fencing, will the fencing come down too?
Gone.
Okay.
Yes, fencing's going to be ripped up, dead trees, invasive species, and sycamore taken care of.
And then will this follow the RCO when you put it out to bid?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Capara? I move to approve the advertisement of a landscape bid to remove fencing, invasive species, and dead trees from the township-owned Spring Valley Farm.
Second.
Seeing a motion and a second, is there any board questions? Any public questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay? Ayes have it, 4-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Number 8, consideration of authorizing the purchase of one Graco Thermolaser Pro Melt from Sealmaster, Allentown, PA, and one Integrity HL7X16-T trailer from D&D Trailers Incorporated, Trenton, New Jersey, for a total amount of $21,721. Mr. Gartmeyer.
Good evening. We brought this up at budget time. We were looking into enhancing our public works along with the line painting. So every year we go out and we do various miles of line painting, crosswalks, stop bars, things of that nature. So with using the thermoplastic, it lasts probably 4 to 5 years, depending on traffic. Where we go out every year now, we would save by going out once in every other 4 years to 5 years. That is why we are asking for this. It is part of the budget. It is also part of the $100,000 for line painting that we put in the budget every year. I did get 3 bids for this. I actually got one that was a leftover unit, so it saved us about $1,400 and some dollars by doing that. And with the purchase of the trailer, the material, it's different than having paint. The material can't get wet. It comes in bags. It has to be put in the machine, and the machine really can't be wet, or the bags. So that's why we're asking for the trailer also.
I have one question. I noticed Citizens Traffic Commission and Mr. Sadowski met with residents from Snowball Gate last week. And part of their resolution to the traffic problem was doing like a white line along the Snowball Drive to kind of slow traffic up. Is this something that can be used for, or is that something that's too much?
No, this is made for doing all the stop bars, intersection, turn arrows, crosswalks. What you're referring to would be the regular line painting of the road.
With the truck and everything,
Yes.
where you just run down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move to authorize the purchase of one Graco Thermolizer Pro Melt with 6-inch and 12-inch die from Sealmaster, Allentown, PA, and one HL7X16-T trailer from D&D Trailers, Inc. of Trenton, New Jersey, for a total amount of $21,721.
Second. Seeing a motion and a second, is there any board questions? Any public questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay? Ayes have it, 4-0.
Thank you.
And you might as well stay there and give us a
I'm staying
department
here.
report. Mr. Gartmeyer, you're up.
So good evening, once again. I was asked to do a presentation for my department. I'll try to be brief. I know you have it in your packets. If you have any questions at the end, that's fine. I'm just going to generalize everything. I'm not going to read everything that's on the screen. Try to make it go a little bit faster for you guys. So basically, the public work works hand in hand with all the other departments, police, fire marshal, building and zoning, park and rec, and fire department, in the fire departments. Public Works is responsible for maintaining the following: road maintenance, drainage, parks, streetlights, all township vehicles, and maintains all facilities. So we do approximately 140 miles of roads, repairing potholes, milling, paving, of that sort, fixing sinkholes and things of that nature. Snow plowing, we're tasked with the removal of snow and pre-treating roadways. So that takes up some time in the winter, obviously. And we also have the sidewalks that we also do, plus all the parks, the trails in the parks and that. So it's a big task when it comes to winter time. We also do signage. We have our own sign shop. So we basically make all our signs. There are some that we have to have done, but for the general part, we make all our own signs. We have the capability of doing that. We do signs for the parks. We actually just started doing some lettering for the township vehicles also. We just got into doing that. Street painting and the thermoplastic, which I was hoping you would say I was going to get tonight. That's why it's on there. So like I just said before, the intersection, stop bars, parking lots, all that stuff. If Paul needs something at parks, you know, we try to cut down on the expense of having somebody come in when we can be doing it ourselves. Traffic lights, we handle the issues with the traffic lights. I work with Armor, and you know, the department works with Armor, and any issues, timing issues, and such things, we work hand in hand with them. Street lights, we have approximately 2,800 street lights. They either repaired, replaced, handle all lighting issues at any of the township buildings. And I can say that our street lights, actually, with the amount of work since we switched to the LEDs, has gone down. So that was a plus for that. Our vehicle maintenance, we have one foreman and one assistant mechanic. They're both mechanics, obviously. They do a heck of a job. I mean, they replace transmissions. I see motors hanging in the garage. You know, basically, they do a lot of in-house stuff. There are things that are too big that they can't handle, so it will get subbed out to Scrappies or International for our trucks. But they do a heck of a job. They do all the state inspections also and emissions for the township. Street sweeper, we have, once again, about 140 miles of roadway. They usually go out, we usually have them go out twice a year, and, you know, to try to clean everything up. So drainage is a big issue with us. Every day we have more and more issues with drainage. As you can see, there's like 745 outfalls and over 6,000 inlets. So it keeps us busy. And what you see on there is, you know, sinkholes, installing new pipe, rebuilding existing inlets. All that stuff is in-house, and that's what, you know, my guys do. Parks and facilities, you know, I work together with Paul, and we go back and forth with stuff for the parks when stuff needs to be done. The grass is cut on a routinely basis. It takes about 2 weeks to get around the whole township to cut everything, provided if the weather's good. But that's just some of the things we do. We do have pesticide that we can spray, playground inspections, tree work, you name it, we kind of do it. Also, planting the trees, Paul gets trees every once in a while, so we go out and we'll plant the trees with community help also. And that's about it for that. This here is the facility maintenance. Our department does everything that's on there in some way or form. I happened to slide that picture in there. I thought it'd be a good picture. So, but that's just some of the things. We install water lines, you know, when we need it at the farm, sewer lines down at the farmhouse in Pendel, put in piping at the country club, obviously the basketball court, and we're working with the police on renovating some of their things right now. Other things we get involved in, you can see it. Basically, anytime the township has an event or a function, whether it be the townships or even outside of the township with outside source, usually we're involved in it in some way, somehow. And that's just a couple of the things. There's many more. Emergency call-in, just when it says, you know, I could get a call 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock, whenever. I do have a list of guys that will come in. It's a rotating list. So any of those things, I mean, I could have named probably 10 10 or 15 more, but that you get the general what's going on. My office staff, I have one full-time and one part-time. So they handle, the phone calls. Jerry Anderson actually is like my assistant, kind of. So me and her do a lot of things back and forth together with ordering salt, fuel, and things like that. But everything up there, once again, is both of them kind of do the same thing, but Jerry does the more ordering of salt and liquid fuels and things like that. And then there's my part. That's the things I do. Basically, you can see what it is there. It's basically running the place and trying to keep the chaos down. And this is basically the way it works. I report to Stephanie, the manager, and then I have 3 foremen, 2, 1 highway, 1 parks, 1 fleet maintenance, and he has an assistant. The other 2 foremen have 15 full-time guys and 6 summer help. And then on the other side is the office staff. And that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Let me say, the work that you guys did over there at Firefighters Park is, you guys really deserve a lot of kudos for that. It's a shame that tonight the basketball rec league got rained out tonight. I'm assuming it did because of the rain, so the kids did get the opportunity to go out there and play. But what's the next, can you just tell us what the next phase is of that park as you're moving forward?
Working with Paul. The next thing will be the installation of the playground. And then after that, the parking lot's going to be redone, the one to the right side. Also, Paul has new backstops coming in for the ball fields. And then we're going to pave around that playground and put it like a walking path around that also. So there's a couple of things that still have to get done, but we're getting there.
Thanks.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you talk a little bit more about some of other projects around the township that are bigger things that you're looking forward to in the next 6 months to a year?
Working with Pat also, our number one is I don't know if it's exciting, but we have a lot of drainage issues. They seem to creep up all the time. So that's our biggest issue, I would say, is getting the drainage and stuff. Working with Paul with the skate park and doing some other things that we're going to be doing up there. So we have a couple of things scheduled up there to do. And, just, that's about it.
I saw on the list of all the things your department handles, things like potholes and streetlights and maintenance of different public spaces that the public becomes aware of and sees problems from time to time. What's the best way for someone in the community to flag an issue for your guys to go out and work on?
The best way is either, if you go to the website, you can log in to the website, the Middletown website. Either send an email to myself or the office or the help desk. And it either gets forwarded, we wind up with it no matter what. Or if you would like to call, you may call and we'll, take it that way also. It's fine.
Great, thanks.
Anything else?
Anybody else? Keep up the good work, Mr. Garmeyer.
Thank you.
Next is a stormwater management presentation by Mr. Kessler.
Thank you very much. As part of our permit with the DEP, we are tasked with an annual presentation to the public regarding our stormwater management and our annual MS4 permit. So just a brief refresher, the stormwater management deals with separating that from our sanitary sewage. And stormwater ranges from anything from rain to snow, anything that's falling out of the sky, that's landing on your lawn, your roof, anything that we have to control with inlets and pipes before it gets to the streams, rivers, and lakes. Conversely, your sewage goes to the treatment plant, or it should. And that is everything that's going down the drain in your house, your tubs, sinks, even the toilets. That's all making its way to the treatment plant to be treated before any water is allowed to go to those streams as well. Because of the nature of the treatment, it has a capacity to it. So the amount that gets there is a set amount that's dealt with permits and other aspects to not exceed that capacity. Once that capacity is exceeded, sometimes there needs to be some sewage let out to make sure the plant can manage what it can. And that's where things get put into the streams where we don't want that to happen. So our main goal with the MS4 system is to have those separate systems and improve upon them every year by a little bit with our vision to make the whole system function even better. The MS4 stands for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. So your sanitary sewer, everything going down those pipes should be on its way to the treatment plants. All the stormwater that's fallen should make its way into your inlets and pipes to get to your streams. And sometimes that's treated as well, but it's always hopefully maintained to be separate from each other to avoid any intermingling with those elements. Old cities like Philadelphia, there's combined sewers, and that's where everything just went down the same drain. And what happens is the sanitary sludge eventually gets into those old rivers. So that's the main effort with the MS4. That's why the DEP regulates it. It's basically, the permit is an update to them each year to tell them where we are with our efforts to keep it separate, and then our vision to clean it up little by little as we move forward. So the sewers and the township roads and our township properties, they're maintained by the township through this permit program. And again, that's through the PA-DEP. So tonight we wanted to focus on a topic that frequently comes up, which are sub pump connections. And sub pumps are stormwater. They're the groundwater that winds up in the basement that needs to be pumped out of there to the ground level so it can make its way into the grass and eventually kind of be on its way. This picture shows there's a connection with the downspout from the roof as well. So that's all stormwater, but it's separate from that line that's going out of your house that's coming from all the other drains. So it's critical to discharge that to the yard or a storm sewer. And it's actually illegal to discharge it to the sanitary sewer, which we sometimes see because it usually is the most convenient place to tap into next to the house. So the risk that you take when you connect it to the sanitary line is that there could be backups that are caused by that. The sanitary system is not meant to have a flow of the stormwater going to the pipes and to the treatment plant. Like I mentioned, there's a capacity to that, and when that backs up, it's coming up through those pipes that are connected to it. So that's not just your sump pump water coming back at you in your basement. That's also the water that's coming from a lot of toilets and drains and tubs like that. So that's definitely something you want to avoid. Just a kind of comparison, one busy sump pump, which a busy pump is something that's running pretty often. A lot of low-lying areas, you'll have the sump pump running fairly frequently. That equates to about 40 homes, typical daily sanitary flow to the treatment plant. So that's a big increase. The treatment plants can become overloaded during large storm events. So days like this where there's heavy rain, water will get into the manholes and through the pipes already, so we don't want to be adding any additional flow to that that will make the treatment plant get exceeded. If that happens, like I mentioned, there's possible discharge to those local streams and lakes with that sanitary flow. It also increases the treatment plant costs to handle that additional flow, and that gets passed back to fees and back to the consumers. So if we don't tap into that sanitary line, what's the correct way to do it? It would be to discharge it to the lawn or the landscaping. If you have space in your lawn, the best way is to let the sub pump go into that area and just soak into the lawn. With that, you do want to have it at least 4 to 6 feet away from your foundation. If it's closer than that, what winds up happening is that it goes back into the ground, close to the foundation, winds up back in the sump pump, and you wind up pumping it again and again. So you want to make sure it's out a bit. This picture shows kind of an extender to that, which is one way to do it. You can have it go into your landscaping or garden. You can connect to a stormwater management system if some folks have a rain garden or a dry well. And there's also an option if it might be a little bit of a longer path, but you can connect to an inlet or a storm pipe system with coordination with the township. What we don't want to do is just have it go out into a driveway or a sidewalk. With temperatures in the winter, when they drop, you'll get icy situations, and you may see that around sometimes. That's usually caused by sump pumps coming out into the driveways there. Same thing going out to the road. If there's not an inlet along the gutter line, the water will sit there and freeze. So the best way to prevent that is with underground connections or outlets to the yard itself. So overall, our sump pump connections make a big difference in our efforts to have a good functioning system with separate sanitary and storm sewer lines. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board or the public may have. And if any questions come up throughout the year as part of our permit, feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to answer and discuss it with you further.
Any questions for Mr. Kessler? Thank you, Mr. Kessler. We'll move on to other business. Mr. Kessler, do you have anything?
I would like to mention that there are plans for signature, if I can request 3 of you to remain around to sign.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Esposito? Ms. Teoli? Mr. Ottinger?
So just want to say thank you to Eric. He's everywhere. I seen him on Saturday up in Parkland fixing the gas line. You see him at the park fixing the park. See him at training. See him everywhere. So it's nice to have a hands-on guy out in the field with the guys. I think it worked out good the way that we transitioned him to that position. Also want to give a shout out to the emergency services. Unfortunately, the young man that passed away in the storm. But I think the best efforts that we could do to try to save that young man's life shouldn't go unnoticed. And that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Strauss? Mr. Kizak? I'd just like to remind everybody that on Wednesday, we are going to have a scam prevention forum here at 6 o'clock to try to just touch on some of these people that knock on your doors in the middle of the summer and try to sell you things and the phone calls that you have. So if you don't have anything on your schedule, please come out and join us on Wednesday at 6 o'clock here. And then the last thing I would just like to remind everybody about our 4th of July parade on Thursday, 4th of July. It's one of our biggest events here in the township. It's a very good parade, and hopefully we'll see everybody there. With that, I'll make a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.